Hey everyone, I just bought this scale, a Scally scale, or whatever it is. Hey, check that out, a Scally scale. But that's not what this video is about. I bought it because I'm going to be measuring my dog's dog food, because I know that I'm feeding her too much. So this is going to try to help people understand how to feed your dog properly. I'm not a vet, and so I'm not educated in how to do this stuff, but I'm just telling you based on what I've learned. So let's do a little bit of math here. It's all based on math. The thing you need to be really careful about is what kind of food you're feeding your dog. If you're feeding the dog food that has a lot of calories because they are eating good quality food that has a lot of protein, that is a lot different than if you're feeding them junk food, cheap food over the counter, stuff that you buy in the store that does not have a lot of protein but has a lot of fat. So if they're getting their calories from fat, then it really screws this whole thing up, because your dog's going to be overweight because they're eating junk. Most of their calories are coming from unhealthy stuff. So how do you figure it out? Most of the time, I'm going to give you a couple examples here. Let's say that on your package, this is probably going to be like a 10-15 minute video, so if you don't want to listen to me ramble, just shut it off. If my videos help you, please do a thumbs up, subscribe, or a like. If you want me to do a review of something, if you can let me know what it is, if I can get a hold of it, I will do the review. And if you want to leave a donation to my PayPal channel, my PayPal thing for watching my videos, let me know. I'll give you my info so you can do a donation. Okay, so look on the back of your package. You're probably going to see something like this. It will say contents ME. I think that's metabolized energy. And the number is going to be different than this, but let's just assume that we're using, let's say that the package says metabolized energy 3,500 kcals / kilograms. It, by law, has to do the kcals kilograms. It might also say a calorie number and say kcals per cup, or K-cup, or something like that. What's a cup is the whole question. So is it the cup they're giving you in the package? Is it a measuring cup? Who knows? So just stick with me and we'll figure this out. Let's say that the package says 3,500 calories per kilogram. Kilogram means 1,000 grams. Kilo, 1,000. So if we look at this right now, we know that if 3,500 kcals per kilogram and 1,000, I'm going to lose some people on this, but if you move if 1,000 is 3 zeros, 1000, so if you move your decimal point over, the decimal point would be over here. I'm going to give you different ways to do this. The decimal point would be over here, 3,500 calories. So if we're dealing with kcals, 1,000 calories, we would move it over 3. 1, 2, 3, which would tell you that you would have 3.5 calories per gram, not 3,500 calories per kilogram. So how do you figure something like this out? That's what the video is about. So you get the scale here. Now I'm not going to do this because it's going to vary depending on what type of food you're using, but let's say that you have a dog treat or dog food, and you put it on the scale, and it measures 15, looks like the marker is going to go out in a second, measures 15 grams. Now you can do this with ounces too, but you're going to have to do some calculations metrically. I live in the U.S., but most of this stuff is based on grams, kilograms, because that's the standard in Europe, and that's what the U.S. follows. So let's assume now that the package says 3,500 kcals per kilogram, and you put your dog food, your dog treat, on the scale, and it says that it is 15 grams of weight. How many calories is that? Well, we could do it with the 3,500 or we could do it with the 3.5. But let's do it with the 3,500 first. The calculation would be 3,500, which is from here, divided by 1,000, which is your kilograms that I just did over here, times 15 grams, which is the amount of weight that your dog food is. And that will tell you how many calories your dog treats are. So if we do 3,500 divided by 1,000, we come up with 3.5, which is the number that I gave you over here. So if we have the metabolized energy of 3,500 kcals per kilogram, as I said, we've got the 3.5 calories per gram, or 3,500 kcals per kilogram. And that's the K just is the 1,000. So what your calculation is going to be is you're going to do your 3,500, which is the calories that it shows on the package, divided by 1,000, which is going to give you your 3.5, which I came up with before over there. So you can use that if you want to. And then we are going to multiply it by the grams of food that the scale shows. So you have 3.5. 3,500 divided by 1,000 comes out to 3.5 times 15. So most of us will want to use a calculator. It makes it a little easier, but because we're adding decimals now, we're multiplying decimals, and it's kind of tricky. If you don't do it every day, I don't do it every day, so you could look at this. You could just look at this right now and say 15 3 times. 15 times 3 is 15, 15, 15. Hopefully this is going to come out right. 5, 10, 15. Carry the 1, 45. So we've taken care of the 3 part, and then we have a half a calorie 15 times. Which would be, see, I should have done this differently, which would be that's 1 calorie. We're going to do this for 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. 7.5 comes out to half over there, 12. So you would know that your treat of 15 grams is 52.5 calories. Could we do this a different way? I think we could. We could probably do it this way with multiplication. Hopefully I'm not going to mess this up, but 5 times 5 is 25. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 for people that count on their fingers. Carry the 2 if you went to the LA City School. 5, 6, 7, so we have 75. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky, because like me and like a lot of other people, we don't do this that often, and you might not remember you're supposed to put a 0 down here for the second column, for the second row. So now we've got 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1, 3, and that 1 is 4. So hopefully this is going to come out right. We have 5. 5 and 5 are 10, 11, 12. Carry the 1 over there, 5. And then we have the decimal point moved over 1, so 52.5. So that's how you do that calculation. Let's keep on going with a little bit more math. Hopefully it's not confusing everybody. It takes a while. You go on the internet and you try to find some of this info, and it's just so confusing. Maybe my video is confusing too, but let's do one more calculation. Alrighty, let me see if this marker is going to hold up. Not too much longer. So what do we got next? We have the next one, a dog packet. Food weighs 110 grams per cup. So let me write that out for you. 110 grams per cup. And we know that on the package, like I was showing you that example before, the ME is 35, why did I do that backwards? 3,500 kcals. Is that right? Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to do the Same calculation. You want to do 3,500. Hopefully I'm going to do this one right again. 3,500 divided by 1,000. Remember, the 3,500 is your kcals, and we're trying to drop it down to how many calories per gram. So 3,500 calories divided by 1,000 times 110 grams per cup equals, well, this one's going to be a little bit easier. Maybe. It's the same thing. 3,500 divided by 1,000. Remember when I showed you this calculation over here, moving over the decimal point? So you just want to do 3,500, which is the ME on your package, divided by 1,000. Well, it might not be 3,500 on your package. It might be a different number, but you want to take that number and divide it by 1,000. So that, on this thing, would come out to 3.5 grams times 110. Hopefully this is making sense to you. If it doesn't, just take some time and figure it out. It's not that hard to do. It's not that easy, but it's not that hard. So we could do, I might mess up on the math over here. Let's try it. 110 divided by 3.5. 0, 5, yeah, I'm probably going to mess up on the math. 5 times 1 is 5. And we want to do a 0, and then you want to do 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 is, am I going to screw this up? 0, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 3, and then you want to move your decimal point over, so it comes out to 385 kcals per cup. Hopefully that made some sense to you. Let's do one more calculation, and then I will end the video. Alright, this one is maybe going to make a little bit more sense for some of us. I might even add the scale and do a real example for my situation, but you're going to have to figure out how many calories your dog should be getting per day. They list it on some of the packages. You might have to look up your dog's weight and age to try to figure it out. There's some websites that will give you that info. But the other thing, and this is what I'm going to be doing, is with my dog, I know how much I am feeding her per day. I definitely know how much I'm going to be feeding her. I know what I'm feeding her now. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be measuring that out. And I'm going to see how much I'm feeding her. And then I'm going to do the calculation to see how many kcals I'm feeding her per day, to see if that is near how many calories she should be getting or over. And I'm pretty sure it's over, because I think I've been overfeeding her, because I was doing it based on the measuring cup and the dog food and not using a scale. So next example, your dog is supposed to get 800 calories a day. Per day. Now with my dog, I'm splitting it up. Originally when I got her from rescue, she was being fed at 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. She doesn't eat at 7 a.m. now. So, and I'm feeding her 2 different kinds of food, one air-dried kibble, one freeze-dried food. So she's eating very high protein, which is high caloric food, and that's why she's overweight, because she's getting a lot of protein, which has a lot of calories, and I'm feeding her what they were feeding her, which is the half a cup per day, which is obviously way too much. And so that's why you want to do this, to figure out. Once you figure it out, you don't have to overburden yourself, but once you get the numbers, you can just weigh it out on the scale, and you'll know what you should be feeding them every day. And it makes a difference, or at least it gives you an idea if you're the one who's messing up and overfeeding the dog, and why, by how much. Or if you don't want to do this, you can just say the dog is overweight and cut back on the food a little each day. But the whole problem with that is if you're feeding them different treats, and if you're feeding them high protein food with a lot of calories, it gets confusing. So your dog is supposed to get 800 calories per day. How much do you feed them? That is the big question. Let's figure that out. The package, again, in my example, it's not going to be in your example probably, but for this example, the package is going to say 35 kcal kcals. Is that what it says? Yeah, kcals, kilograms, or whatever the heck it is. All right, so how much do you want to feed the dog? How much do you feed the dog? You've got your scale, but all you know is on the package it says 3,500 kcals, and the dog is supposed to get 800 calories. So how do you do that? 800 divided by, we're just doing a little bit backwards El Matho here. Instead of doing dividing, we are doing some multiplication. Is that what I want to do? Yeah. And remember, when you were in school, you're supposed to do what is in the parentheses first. Well, this is all in the parentheses, and I think you're supposed to do what is in order here first. But what I'm going to do, you're going to see it right now. Hopefully you see it. You see the same thing that we had before. You got 3,500 times 1,000. And I hope this is going to work. So we got 3,500 times 1,000. 35. I don't think this is going to work. Is this going to work? No, it's not going to work. Yes, it is going to work. 3,500 times 1,000. So that would mean that we're adding 300. This is definitely not going to work. We're adding 3 extra zeros. Is this right? 2, 3. Whoa, this could be off. On this one, you're definitely going to need a calculator unless you're really good with math and want to waste a lot of time. So let's just do it in order. If you do 800 on this example divided by 3,500, you're going to need a calculator for this. It's going to come out to something like, because it's a huge number, it's going to come out to about 0.2285, and it just goes on and on and on. So let's just say 0.228. So you've got 800 divided by 3,500, 800 calories the dog should get per day, times 3,500 kcals that it's going to say on the package, or whatever your number is, and then you're going to multiply it by 1,000. So in this example, I know that 800 divided by 3,500 is 0.228. So we have 0.228, and then we are going to multiply that by 1,000. So instead of, if you want to multiply it by 1,000, that's up to you. It's easier because we have 3 zeros just to move it over. So we have 0.228, 1, 2, 3. 228, which tells you that if you want to feed your dog the proper amount of food, if they need 800 calories a day, and the package says 3,500 MEs, you need to feed your dog 228 grams of food per day, and you would use a scale to measure it, and then you'd be able to know how much you should feed the dog per day. I'm going to try to get my package out here. I'm going to try to get I'm going to get the package of food now, and I'm going to look and see what it says, and then I will attempt to do a real-life example for everybody. Okay, so you're going to have to, if you're going to try to figure this out like me, you've got to do some calculations. You've got to find out how many calories your dog should be getting, and then you can figure out how many grams you want to feed them per day, or you can do your calculation to figure out how much you're actually feeding them now, and is it too much compared to what you should be feeding. So with this, what I'm going to do now, so I'm going to turn on the scale. Yikes. We get another measuring cup. I have 2 measuring cups that came with the dog food. So what we have here is we've got the scale, and I'm going to put the measuring cup on, and I'm going to set this to grams. Now it shows that the measuring cup is 10 grams, and that's the whole idea behind this tar thing. It zeroes it out so that you're not measuring the measuring cup. Now that we've got that, now that I know, on the package it says, I just had this over here, on the package it shows 4,800 kcals, or 273 calories per level scoop. Well, I've got a level scoop here. So this is a level scoop. This is very interesting now. We've got the level scoop, and like I told you, can I get this in here? It shows 48 grams right now. It says 273 calories per level scoop. And Is that even right? I'm really kind of confused here now. I'm working along with you. So that would mean we've got to find out how many that's the thing now. We've got to find out, we got to do this calculation, and we got to find out what this means, how many calories there are per gram. And I guess that would be 4.8 per gram. I'm kind of doing this on the video with you right now. 4.8 calories per gram. And if the scale shows that we are at 49 grams, that means that the dog is taking in 49 times 4.8. This is when I get the calculator. And that comes out to 235.2. So it depends, because on the package I think it says I want to feed her like 2.5 level scoops. Now that comes out to about 600, 700 calories. That's probably way too much for the dog, but you got to figure out what you need to do with the original calculations I gave you to, and that's what I'm going to do when I shut off the video. Find out, am I feeding her too much? .11 grams of food per metal scoop.